Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Knicks Film School podcast. My name is Andrew Claudio, aka GMAC, and it is time for some off-season evergreen content, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to those of you that tuned in to our summer league coverage. Shout out to just Chris and Kevin in general. I should mention Sean with a W as well for their hosting duties and recapping all of the summer league games, all of the Tyler Kolek brilliance that we saw during summer league, as well as some Rokas brilliance that we may never see again. But all of that to say, we are in off-season mode with some potential Knicks news ready to drop in the not too distant future if it happens. And of course, we will jump into it. But I am joined today by my two good friends for the second ever Random Summer Inquisitions Summit. And the first place I will go is to my left and on screen, my right, Mr. Jeremy Cohen. Jeremy, long time no see. How are you, sir?
Hey, Andrew. Yeah, I'm doing great now that I am out of the desert heat. It really feels like you're on fire when you leave the car and it's just a dry heat. And do you prefer to the humidity that we get here, like the humid heat, or do you like it less?
No, I missed clouds. I was telling somebody the other day, like I went out to dinner with my mother-in-law this week, I don't know when we're airing this, but I went out to dinner with my mother-in-law and like some rain clouds rolled in. And I was like, you don't understand how much you miss rain clouds until you don't see a cloud for like 11 straight days.
Why do you have to go outdoors? Why even?
Because I like to.
You never need, when Vegas, like, just stay indoors.
You can't sometimes. You have to wait for an Uber, for example, to take you from point A to point B. Outside of the Thomas and Mack Center, you have to wait. Oh,
that's right. You have to go to the Thomas and Mack Center.
And it just feels like your whole body is suddenly on fire and you can't wait to get into the AC.
That kind of sun is not meant for guys like you and me, Jeremy. We can't handle
there's
such things.
Lot of sunscreen that was used. So
I'll just say that I like to walk from place to place with the overhead like bridges that they have over the strip. And one of my things I was looking forward to do, because the first half of my trip was an anniversary trip with Mrs. Claudio, we were going to walk the strip. And you know what didn't happen? Because outside bad, that. Okay.
Well, you know who was fine from all of this?
Who?
John.
Oh yeah, Black.
Because his dark complexion, it
didn't
have anything to do with it. Yeah,
he was
lucky
fine.
Him.
No issues whatsoever. Yeah,
yep.
As he apparently he got up early and went to Red Rock, like went hiking that nonsense. Bravo to you, sir. The work ethic of a Tom Thibodeau, even on vacation. Apparently,
I think he probably woke up before I went to bed some nights in Vegas because that's what Vegas is for. But kudos to him.
I should say Benjy Ritholtz is with us as well. Hi, Benjy. How are you, sir?
Hello. Listening to you guys complain about going to Vegas from a guy who sat at home and didn't go to Vegas. Really, really good form from you two.
We are complaining, as in the trip wasn't great, although I wouldn't call it terrible. Can we play a game just to rub it in even more, Benjy? Can Jeremy and I take turns telling our best "we saw someone famous" story in Vegas?
Okay.
And you decide who wins. All right, Jeremy, you first.
You got it.
All right. So I took Andrew's suggestion. I walked over to the Wynn. I went to the Aria. Like I went to all these places where it's like, if I'm going to see a basketball player with my friends, that's great. You see the Williams brothers, Jalen and Cody. That was cool. There was one summer league player who I won't out him, but he was trashed.
Oh no!
He was fine in the end, but nice guy. But you could tell, definitely had a few too many. The funniest story for me, and this is going to be a player where a lot of people are not going to know who that is, but I ran into someone I went to high school with who is dating someone related to a player on the Spurs, which was very funny because he's gambling, introduced to him, really nice guy. And then the next night I was at the Wynn and he was playing the same game at a different hotel. And we were on a first name basis. It was like, what's up? And how's it going? And it was a lot of fun.
And you can't say who the player is?
I mean, I could because he didn't do anything wrong. But
So who is it?
all right, I'll say it was Sandro Makashvili. Great guy, awesome. It was so
Shout
fun
out
seeing him.
Sandro.
Yeah,
Friend of the pod.
fan for life. The coolest thing too was he signed a contract in between the days where I saw him. So the second time I saw him, I was like, "Buddy, congratulations on the contract!" And it's cool. Love the guy. Fan for life. Him, Reggie Jackson. They're on my Mount Rushmore of NBA favorites. So it was a blast. I think everyone. I recommend if you have the opportunity to do it, everyone who's a huge basketball fan should go there, even if there's not this big rookie prospect that everyone flocks for like Wemby or Zion. It's such a cool atmosphere and it's fun to just people watch, honestly. So I had a great time.
So I feel like I set you up because now I get to tell my so here's the deal, Benjy. I went for the first 5 days and stayed at the Wynn, and I was warned that the whole NBA stays there. I didn't realize how true that was. And this should tell you exactly how true that is. So the Thursday that I'm there, the first week, I should say. So Summer League hasn't started yet. The day before the first game, there's a brunch spot at the Wynn. And my wife and I, when we were making reservations throughout the week, we put in all of the different notices, like the notes. It's our anniversary, so this is why we're here. So that way the restaurants would give us whatever perk that comes with it. And this place apparently does a very special dessert. And it's some red velvet cake thing that they pour chocolate syrup on. It was really nice. And there's a presentation involved. And they're doing this thing on the plate. And I got my camera out and I'm watching. And I'm like, oh, this is great. And one Obadiah Toppin walks in with his significant other. And I suddenly just like stopped paying attention to the dessert presentation going on in front of me. And my wife was like, you missed it. They did the thing. It's like, babe, it's Obi Toppin.
Oh, no.
So I have talked entirely too much smack at John that you have to go introduce yourself. Like you run into JJ Redick all the time. You can't and you never introduced yourself. And now the Lakers coach could have been on our pod and never will be. I was like, I have to do something. So what I offered to do, and my wife gave this suggestion, is a great one. I said I would buy Obi a drink. I would send a drink over to his table. And so our waiter went over there, said that gentleman over there said he's a big Knicks fan, would like to buy you a drink. Is there anything I can get you? And apparently Obi turned around and looked at me first. And then apparently told our waiter, I don't drink, so no thank you, but I'll buy theirs. And I had a Coke Zero, so it's not necessarily like he broke the bank, but my wife and her cappuccino, I forget what it's called. It was like a cappuccino margarita, I think it was. It was something that like
espresso martini.
Espresso martini. Yes, yeah. There you go. There you go. It was like a I need coffee, but I want a drink type of thing. So Obi Toppin technically bought my wife a drink, and it stinks that you're on the enemy going forward, Obi. But you're good in my book going forward. So there, that happened in Vegas.
I tuned out and all I heard was that Obi Toppin bought your wife a drink.
Bought my wife a drink? Yeah. So anybody that was at the gym and didn't just suddenly was like, what? Obi Toppin bought my wife a drink?
And that made you a fan? Now you're a fan?
Listen, whatever floats your boat, Andrew. I don't judge. I love you no matter what. So
anyway, that's what happened in Vegas, and we had a blast. Benjy, we got to get you out there next year, and maybe the entire KFS crew.
I'm working on.
Although this team's never going to have a draft pick again, so I don't know what team we're going to go out there to watch.
Oh,
but
I can tell you what it is. It's just Dwayne Washington Jr. getting cloned 12 times.
Mm-hmm.
And one big man. That's it. That's the team.
Yeah. Random summer inquisitions, ladies and gentlemen. That's why you're here. That's why you're tuning in. The last time we did this was, I actually have the date, August 17th, 2022. And the reason I know that is because the three of us have exchanged exactly 2 Twitter DMs together. And the last time I sent you guys both a DM to our little group chat on Twitter was the Zoom link that we used back then. In fact, would you like to take a look at what the KFS production looked like and what we looked like back then? Jeremy, get ready for a very stark difference.
Oh my God.
Babyface Cohen over here. I'm not exactly looking great. Shout out to my bedhead because that was definitely after a nap. But yeah, this is what we looked like a couple of years ago. We have since upgraded our looks and our setup here at KFS. And the theme of Random Summer Inquisitions is exactly that. In fact, I have the questions that we asked last time. Gentlemen, would you like to hear them?
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
let's do it.
That's the correct answer. Thank you.
You can do it anyway.
We broke it into 3 parts. Obviously, we're not doing that for this because we're not fishing for downloads. My questions were a question for Benjy because Jeremy and you and I had a fight during the Warriors Celtics finals about who's a better defender, Draymond or Marcus Smart. And we went to the X's and O's guy to see how he decides who are the best defenders and just what you look for, what stats you might use, and to decide. And Benjy very carefully said that both are great is basically what the answer that you gave us. That you didn't really pick one, but you were like...
That's great content right there.
You were like, people go back and watch if you want Benjy's answer, but it was my take was that Draymond Green is like a cerebral defender, and you were like, that's true, I agree. And then Jeremy's was like, yeah, but Marcus Smart is like a very physical defender, and you were like, yeah, that's true, he is. And it's like, all right, so we're both right, got it.
So Benjy's a politician, and Benjy, I don't know if you're looking for a new job, but there's an opening on a presidential ticket where you could really do your politicking.
VP Ritholtz.
Waffling. Yeah, I could see it.
It's a terrible idea on multiple levels. that I will not discuss here.
It could be either party, honestly.
Okay.
Wow. That was my first question. My second question was, what are the most devastating sports losses for any team? My third question, what are some of your favorite sports jerseys that you've ever owned? Any sport specifically? Jeremy, your 3 questions. If you could take a time machine to any sporting event throughout history, what would it be? What is one transaction in Knicks history you would reverse if you could? And then the fun one, especially for that year, what is your dream closing lineup for this upcoming Knicks season? This is before the first. Jalen Brunson had never played a game for the Knicks, and we were in the summer of waiting for Donovan Mitchell. So, Benjy, our answers, you went with Jalen Brunson, Quentin Grimes, RJ Barrett, the dream version of Randall, because we were coming off a nightmare version of Randall, and either Mitch or Hartenstein. And I went same as Benjy, but I want Obi instead of Randall. So Obi, I knew years earlier that one day we were going to meet at brunch, and I wanted it on the record that I wanted you starting over Julius Randle in my ideal lineup during Randall's second All-NBA season. And then Benjy, your questions were, if you could take, I remember this being awesome. If you could take one rule from another sport and institute it into the NBA, what would it be? And you said eliminate timeouts, and it broke my brain. You also said eliminate out of bounds. Like everything's in play. Like build an ice rink around, build boards around, and it's just arena basketball. You know, what is your ideal season length and playoff format? And that's how we got into relegation talk. And then if RJ Quickly, Randall, or Obi were current Mets or Yankees players, who would they be? That brings us to this year, the second ever Random Summer Inquisitions Summit. I'm going to go to Jeremy Cohen first. Your first Random Summer Inquisition.
All right. My first question. The NBA grants you the opportunity to add more points than a 3-point shot. Where does this line, or do these lines fall, and why? How many are you adding?
Benjy, you first.
Oh, man. My boring answer is none.
You like 2 and 3. You don't want to add like a 4-point line. Super
boring answer. No, I don't want to add a 4-point line. I sometimes want to take away the 3-point line, so I definitely don't want to add a 4-point line. I think there's some interesting ideas out there in terms of like what to do about like the volume of 3-pointers if the game's kind of getting a bit monolithic in the way it's played. Everybody's playing the same way, chucking threes at the expense of getting to the rim or whatever. I think some of that's overblown, but I also do believe that we don't want shooters who aren't good enough extending out the 4-point range because the incentive is so great and missing more. Like what would be the percentage that is that makes it a worthwhile shot to get a 4-pointer? Like, what's the math there? 25. If you're a 25% 4-point shooter, then you'd say you should take that shot. So now I have to watch guys shoot 1 out of 4 and think that's a good shot. Like, that breaks my brain a bit. Don't really want to see guys bricking more shots because it gets more points. So my answer is none. Although I like the thought. What do you got, Andrew?
I maintain, I think, an answer I had last time in rule changes. If anybody makes a shot from behind half court at any point, the game is tied. I just maintain if you're down 40 and you just decide at what coach calls timeout, you put your best 3-point shooters out there and you're just pulling up from the other side of the court.
There's something kind of sick about that, honestly.
Because that's at any point tie game. Because here's the deal. They're going to defend it too. So imagine like Mikal Bridges guarding 60 feet from the basket because Steph is pulling up to try and tie the game.
Wait, but what if you foul a half-court shooter? Does he get to shoot as many free throws as it takes to tie the game?
Yeah, you get three free throws. It doesn't tie the game, though.
If you're down 30, you don't get 30. You don't get 30 shots.
This is a 30-pointer. This is a tie game shot. No, at any point, half-court shot is hit, tie game.
What if you're up, though?
Game over?
I didn't even... that would eliminate... But see, that's the thing. That would eliminate people taking half-court shots before the buzzer. They would just dribble it out, you know? If you made it, so that way... What do you mean?
I'm saying... So you're saying a team's down 30. Mm-hmm. They shoot a half-court shot. They make it. Game's tied.
Yes.
Okay. The team that's up 30... They hit a half-court shot.
They back up 30.
Are they like? Is it 60?
It's 3 points. It's 3 points. The game's
Why
already
are you
tied.
even playing the game? Why are you even trying to get ahead?
Imagine the last 5 minutes or last 30 seconds of a game. That's a 7-point game.
This is the Quidditch problem. This is the Quidditch problem. This is like the snitch, where the game doesn't make any sense because you can go back and forth 100 million times with the quaffles, score 1 million goals, and then it just takes one pisher to get the snitch and the game's over. What are you playing the whole game for? So similarly, you play this whole game and then it's like make a half-court shot and then we're tied. It's like it takes away all the incentive. It's the Quidditch problem.
Benjy, I love you. That's the nerdiest thing you've ever said.
Good.
But like I'm a nerd too. No. I want to litigate the confusing rules of the Harry Potter game Quidditch as well. I just had no idea we were going to litigate Quidditch here on this pod. I agree with you. But the half-court line would be my extra points.
I was thinking more like a 4-point line, a 5-point line. But
I'm kind of with Benjy. The way the game is played, people are already taking too many threes for my liking.
Hang on. So to Benjy's point, were there too many threes being taken? Forget about that. The idea of a 4-point line, preposterous. But if you take a half-court shot when you're down by as much as 50 points and you hit it,
amazing.
It's a tie game. But
are you telling me that you wouldn't tune in to the end of every basketball game if you knew that a half-court shot ties the game?
Dude, complete non sequitur, though.
Peyton Pritchard becomes like the best player in the NBA.
Bingo. Max contract
player. It gets you back into any game.
The drills that would have to be instituted into practices and training camps because the half-court shot becomes the most important shot in basketball.
Yeah. Well, Jeremy, how would you answer your own question? Let's hear it.
I would say if you take the 4-point line and extend it out, you're inching further. And you might be thinking like, well, what's next? The 5-point line? And to my answer, be like, maybe we get there. Because it took how many years to get to the 3-point line? And they adopted that. And with range, like you're saying, Benjy, your fear of these big men taking a bad shot, but there's also a world where they just don't take that shot. You optimize it based on the strength of the players. It's why you don't see a lot of big men necessarily shooting well. And if they are, that's maybe at the corner as opposed to above the break. Like they pick their shots based on how they can play. So if you were to find a player like Emmanuel quickly steps up and he shoots from 37 feet, that's his choice. It's up to the front office to determine, and probably through the coaching staff as well, is that a high percentage shot? The Patrick Ewing of you practice that shot.
Mm-hmm.
That's the mindset. Just because it's there doesn't mean it has to be used. But I think we're getting to a point with how the NBA is structured where the shooting gets better constantly. We're getting more talent. There's a greater emphasis on spacing the floor. So if the rules were to change, which I don't foresee them happening, but if you talk to someone who was in 1978, was like, I remember when they were peach baskets, like they're going to be upset about it, but they made the change and basketball now is better for it because we've got some incredible shooters out there. I mean, if we didn't have the 3-point line, we'd probably still have Steph Curry, but it might not be Steph Curry. It'd be like, well, congrats on hitting a 2-pointer that's like 12 feet further than the other one, Steph. It wouldn't happen. So all it takes is just one line to push everything more. And I think all the arguments that were used against it back during the Jimmy Carter administration are probably going to happen now, but it wouldn't really matter because I just think we're naturally progressing. The sport is always changing. There's a fundamentalist view of like this sport has been this way for years and it shouldn't change, but then certain other changes are acceptable. So where's the line? I'll tell you where the line is. It's a 4-point line, and it's not that far away from the 3-point line, but it's not that close to the half-court line.
So if your proposal is like 5-10 feet behind the 3-point line and it's like only above the break, like it cuts off before it reaches the corner, is that the idea?
It can't even hit the corner because you'd have to move the court out widthwise in order to get a corner 4. So it would just be, I mean, you could, however, make it arcing.
That's what I'm saying. Like make it
it's
so
not
it's
just
like
the
above the break, you know?
Right? And it's up to teams to determine if they want to take that shot. If it's a bad shot, don't take the shot, but it's available. And I'll tell you what, there will come a time, some player, some team, whatever it is going to expose it. And a 7-point lead is going to be a 1-point deficit like that because taking advantage of the shots available to.
Interesting. You know,
I'm just imagining a world where the broadcast is like, hey, you did a good job running him off the 4-point line. You can accept 3 points there. That's just a wild.
Benjy, you know what's better than a 4-point play? A 5-point play.
Oh, man.
More is more.
So you get foul baiting on a 4-point shot. So you get a 5-point play potentially.
To me, it comes back to the incentives because like one interesting argument against a 3-point shot that I find fairly persuasive is where by definition, okay with a guy taking a low percentage shot, like 35% is a good shot now. And if the goal of the game should be like philosophically to put the ball in the basket, the point structure kind of perverts that a little bit. And now you're talking about a 4-point shot, which perverts it even more. So now a 25% shot, let's say, is still considered a good shot. So you're saying that they'll adjust their shot diet. I disagree. Anyone who can make 25% of them, Daryl Morey's going to say, take more, take more, take more, take more. So now you're getting to a place where, the point totals will be the same or even greater. Plus maybe the more space you open up, but like more shots will be missed because you're taking lower percentage shots. Like to me, that's the rub. That's what I don't love is to continue to incentivize by definition lower percentage shots at distance.
I agree, but by creating it, does that inherently mean you're incentivizing it, or do you creating the opportunity? Like, if I'm trying to think of the best example to include here, but you're making it an option. It's up to the teams to determine if they want that or not. Because it may not space the floor to a greater extent, but let's say it did, right? Let's say over time you get players who are able to pull better from deep because there's just a higher focus on shooting in the NBA than there had been before. What does that do to the rest of the game? I mean, think about like you're running a pick and roll now 38 feet away from the basket. That's a lot of fun to me. And then you've got all this wide open space to be able to hit your man on the roll and get the dunk, or a lot of shots being missed. Like, okay, great. Get ready to learn offensive rebounding, buddy. Like you can find personnel then that shifts the game. It's for whatever it's worth. I'm fine with the NBA being the exact way it is from a 3-point shot. But I think there is something fun with adding the 4-point shot. But you could say the same thing with baseball, where it's like, well, why not add another thing? Like it's 2 runs instead of 1 for a solo shot. Like you could go about a number of ways, but
it's a good intellectual exercise. Interesting to think about. Good question. Good start, Jeremy. Good start.
You know, it's even more fun than a pick and roll 38 feet from the basket for 4 points. A pick and roll 60 feet from the basket that ties the game down 20. All right, Benjy, you're up.
All right. I am going to skip my first question. Well, I'm just going to reorder them. My question is, if you could add a single current player to the current Knicks to maximally increase their championship odds, who is that player?
This isn't a trick question, right? Like I could just say Jokic and be
You
right.
absolutely can say Jokic.
All right,
I don't
Jokic.
think if you think it's that obvious. Oh, you think it's that obvious that it's Jokic?
had the same.
Oh wow! Then this isn't fun at all. You guys think it's Jokic for sure?
They need a center. That isn't like injury prone like Mitch, you know, like, and then like no disrespect to Mitch. Like I hope you're healthy this year. And I think you could be really helpful, but they just lost Hartenstein. Why not? Instead of they lost the baby.
Okay,
Jokic.
let's turn this into devil's advocate then, because I don't think it's so simple. I might end up on Jokic, but I don't think it's so simple. So you're built this roster construction. What you're basically doing is your 2 best players are now Jalen Brunson and Nikola Jokic, which is extraordinarily powerful on the offensive end. And I think rather, I don't know, Jokic isn't a bad defender. Brunson is just size limited, not a terrible defender, but neither is great for their position. And I wonder if there are other players in the league who more obviously complement Jalen Brunson in certain ways, that the offensive talent would still obviously add a lot to the team. So Jason Tatum was a player that came to mind. Now you could say the drop off is so great. Obviously, Embiid is a player that came to mind. Kevin Durant is an interesting player. Just the shooting that he would provide. Now you have like a bunch of 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" wings around Jalen Brunson, and even if your center is like whatever, you can play small in a pinch and be absolutely fine. Like if you had OG, Durant, and Bridges, you don't need to play a center. So I don't know. That was my counterpoint. Now I'm not sure I wouldn't also end up on Jokic, but interesting to think about from a team construction perspective, I thought. What other? Yeah.
So the Knicks are adding any player, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is there flexibility on subtracting players, or is it purely just additive?
The question was purely additive, but if you want to extend it, go ahead.
Well, I'm just thinking, in this world where it's Jokic doing that, couldn't you see a world in which the Knicks then find ways around it because the offense is so good that they're cool with, say, OG covering 5s, and you don't really want Jokic on the perimeter, but you find a way to make it work. Like, because I think there's also an argument here with Giannis, but
by the way, that's a name I wrote down that I forgot to mention. Yes, there's definitely a yes.
But if it's additive, you wouldn't necessarily want Giannis and Randall together. Not to, and look, you can make it work for all these players. You find a way to make it work. They're superstars in nature. You have the core to be able to build around any of the players that we have named, which is awesome because it shows how far the Knicks have come. But I don't think you can go wrong with any of these names. They for the same reason it probably occurred to Andrews did for me with Jokic, where yes, it is a position of need, but it's also the player who I feel is the best player on the planet. So adding the best player on the planet who fits a position of need, like you're going to change your structure a little bit. That's also fine because you have Nikola Jokic next to Randall, OG, Bridges, and Brunson. And you live with it, and it's not too hard to live with it.
Damn. Yeah, I might end up there too. I might end up there too. Giannis is quite a interesting thought. Just starting us at center. Holy cow. That would be freaking powerful.
Center is the place I'm going to for any choice here. They're packed with wings now between Bridges and Anunoby.
Can't have too many.
Last year taught us that. They quite literally have one center I trust right now, though, and he isn't a guarantee to play 82, let alone 41.
So they have no center. So they have no centers we trust.
So that's where I would go to a center, probably above any. Honestly, my second thought was Wemby.
Oh yeah,
if I'm going in that direction, yeah.
Damn.
Like it's centers. Like if I could turn Mitch Robinson into my backup center, that's more
honestly
desirable.
Like it's Porzingis. I think is
Porzingis. Chet was on my list.
Like in some Porzingis, like even though obviously it's a pretty far step down from like the Embiid Jokic level, like in some ways, what an amazing fit because great in drop defense and the way he stretches the floor uniquely for a center, powerful. That would be a powerful combo too.
Can I just? You've said Embiid's name twice. Are my emotions factored into my decisions here? Because I never want him to play for anything that I root for. Like I'm with John in having trouble rooting for Team USA.
I'm totally with
right
you
now.
Why FIBA Embiid hasn't been fun for you with his flopper?
I just don't want to root for Joel Embiid. That's my take. I don't want him to experience happiness. So that's where I'm going with that. As a basketball player, yeah, he's allegedly really good. I just I don't want to root for him. So the thought of him being additive to the Knicks probably is true. I trust both of you. It's not additive to my well-being. So, or anybody else on the other team for that matter, because you have to watch out for flying elbows and knees and probably a finger to the eye. Okay, my first question. The Knicks are in a very good position at the moment. And I thought it would be fun, similar spirit to Benji's question, to say if you had to pick a Knick from the past and you're swapping them into the rotation. So let's assume where everybody is. The starting five right now is Mitch at the starting center with Randall, Bridges, Anunoby, Brunson, with McBride. We'll say McBride, Hart, DiVincenzo as the backup three with a center. If you could take any Knick throughout the franchise history and swap them for one other person in the rotation, who would it be?
And this is while they were a Knick?
While they were a Knick. So their Knick experience. So, Jeremy, we'll go to you first.
Can I just say Patrick Ewing?
So Ewing for Mitch is the
go-to. We just
go-to.
Talked about the importance of centers on this team, and maybe the second best Knick of all time. But like that's the definitive answer to me.
My only counter is today's NBA. Like they're joining the team right now. So I don't know if that matters. It's still like a great. Okay.
He'd be an elite rim protector. He was a spacer, at least to mid range. Maybe it would be to three today. He'd be amazing today, like prime Ewing. And then you add like the post up game as like a secondary kind of advantage creator for this team. Like he'd be obviously the pick and roll partner for Brunson, which would be devastating. But then if teams switch, you could just throw it to Pat on the block to work. That's pretty powerful too. That was my initial answer as well. I want to shout out Willis because Prime Willis was a load to deal with. Similar like rim protection, rebounding, and could knock down the mid range shot at any time. Obviously, the toughness that he brought. I do think like, and maybe it's just because it's more modern, but like Pat feels like he fits into the modern game a bit more easily than Willis would have. And I will say, and again, going center is the move here. But like, if I could get Clyde next to Brunson,
Oh, next to Brunson. So who you swapping?
I'm probably taking Randall out of the lineup, and it would be Brunson, Clyde, Bridges, OG, Mitch, and like Clyde. Talk about like a perfect complementary player to Brunson. Can guard the team's best player. Was a great defensive player. Had real size. He's basically the size of a 2. Strength on defense. Secondary creation that Brunson needs. So you can swap Randall out because Clyde obviously can provide that. And great shooter and all. I mean, just a great overall offensive player. So would be a pretty good fit. I still think I'd go center, but Clyde's a good answer too.
So you guys mentioned the consensus 3 best Knicks ever. I may go a different direction with my answers. Jeremy, what did you have before I go to him though?
Well, I was just going to say it's tough for me to put Clyde in there when he in his entire NBA career didn't hit a single 3. So like I can't back him as a floor spacer.
But did he hit a 4?
No,
he didn't. He hit as many 3s and 4s as we did. Although knowing him, he probably hit a lot of 9s and 10s. So it's totally fine for him to be in that position. I just would rather have Patrick Ewing in that spot. But Andrew, I'll defer to you.
You are amazing.
I don't know. I just talking about the 9s and 10-point shots. I mean,
yes, totally. He bowls. He used to go bowling back in his day. Yes, indeed.
Gobble gobble.
A lot of strikes.
A lot of gobbling.
Good Lord, Jeremy. So I went with Melo at the 4 for Randall as one of my answers.
You're too predictable.
Oh my gosh.
Have to. I'd love to see people.
You don't.
Melo wouldn't have taken the discount.
No, he wouldn't have. You know who else didn't? OG Anunoby. You know who else didn't? Isaiah Hartenstein. You know who else didn't? Most NBA players.
OG allegedly did not take a max offer that would have been given to him if he were on the free agent market.
Melo also didn't take the max offer in 2014. So it's the same spirit. He just didn't take $100 million left. Less, I should say.
That's fine. And this isn't slandering Melo. I think everyone's entitled to taking whatever's in front of them. I'm just really happy Jalen Brunson took the amount that's in front of him. And as I said in the KFS chat today, it's a completely different NBA now than it was back when Melo took the money. Now we have the second apron. Back then, the only apron Melo would have interacted with was one that was in the kitchen. So it's a different world financially for these players. And Jalen has a closer relationship to Leon Rose than Carmelo Anthony did to Phil Jackson. Because if you were to say, hey, can you take care of me? Phil Jackson would have been like, yeah, sure. Let me trade you in a year. And for Leon, it's like, don't worry. You're not going anywhere. You're here for life. Yeah,
you said everything I wanted to say. So yes, I agree. Melo at the 4, they won 54 games, and that offense looked great. And he averages career high in assists that year. So that was my only thought. That is now he has more floor spacers. My thing was always like, I'd love to see him with like good basketball players around him. And the 1 to 2 years we saw it, they were really good. The other center that I thought would be the one that just won the NBA title, and it was getting Porzingis back here for Mitch, and making him the 2017 before the ACL tear Porzingis. So there's a little bit of more ball handling, but there's still some elite 3-point shooting. And then the $175 million man, shout out to Deuce McBride. Unfortunately, I'm swapping you for Emmanuel Quickly, because then I know who's running my second unit. I think you could do it at an elite level. I think you would, with DiVincenzo and Hart, they would just create an elite offense and an elite defense on the second unit. So those are the 3 that I wrote down that were non-top 3 greatest Knicks ever, which, like you said, are probably the more obvious answers.
The Melo one is interesting because Melo is like, prime Melo is undoubtedly an upgrade to prime Julius Randle with similar strengths and similar flaws in some ways, but Melo's just better at the good things and probably slightly better at the bad things that Randall's bad at.
The day he retired and you posted the thread of him that game 6 against Indiana.
Yeah.
And you sent me a clip of a Carmelo Anthony closeout on a 3, and you were like, I didn't post this, but this remind you of anybody? And I was like, oh, that looks a lot like a Julius Randle closeout.
Absolutely. Yeah. Similar. I mean, they're similar in some ways, right? But Melo's just better. And considering how good this team was with Julius in January, you put Melo in that spot. I hear you. It's pretty dangerous.
Yeah. Also, on brand. So, Jeremy, you're up next. Your question number 2.
So my second question is somewhat similar, but also very different from Andrew's. You're allowed to assemble a team of past Knicks to beat this current squad in a 7-game series. But the catch is you are only allowed one Hall of Famer. And I'm sorry, Andrew, but because he's going into the Hall of Fame, Melo counts as a Hall of Famer. Which players are you picking?
So that was my cheat. I was going to put Melo and Clyde on the... Okay.
I know. I could see through you. I knew what you were going to do.
Benjy, do you have your answer ready? Because now I have to rethink some things.
No. I don't have an answer ready, so I'll just kind of talk myself through it. Here we go. I'm going to put... What's his name? Michael Ray Richardson?
Ray Richardson, yeah.
He's not a Hall of Famer. Put him in like 1980 at the point. He was damn good and long and could compete at this size. Give me him. Give me one Allen Houston at the shooting guard position. Give me... I'm taking Pat Ewing at center. So that's my Hall of Famer. So I got to fill out the wings with non-Hall of Famers. Is Bernard a Hall of Famer? Bernard's a Hall of Famer. I don't think he is.
No, he's not.
Oh,
so
hell yeah. Give me Bernard King.
Bernard. There you go.
And give me... I'll take LJ.
Grandmama.
That's a good ball club.
That is a good ball club.
Do you think it wins in a 7-game series against this team?
Against this team with Richardson, Houston, LJ, Bernard, and Pat?
Probably doesn't.
I think they might, yeah. I think they might. That's a really good team.
I went a bit more. I'm sticking with the lineup. That I guess I just have to adjust a point guard. It's so tough because if you can only have one Hall of Famer, then it's like you kind of they've had 2 potential Hall of Fame point guards, and it's Clyde Frazier, and I think we're watching the other one at the moment.
Unless you consider Earl, well, he was a point guard before he came to the Knicks.
But it feels like a cheat. Like you're going with what he was as a Knick,
That's fair.
So I would at least feel like to be honest, the Porzingis at center, if I were to put him here, would also feel like a cheat because he mostly played power forward when he was here. Like they were throwing Joakim Noah and Enes Kanter next to in those lineups because he didn't want to. They thought he was the next Dirk. He needed to play power forward. So. However, so I also have Allen Houston because I think in the modern game he would be
beast,
insane. Like the comp I've always made is like Devin Booker, but I have no idea if Houston would have that ceiling, like getting 40 in playoff games and finals games for that matter. But I'll make sure Houston's on my list. I guess I got to take Clyde. You kind of, I like, that's a tough thing. It's just now I can't take Melo, which is the workaround that Jeremy gave me. So I will go Clyde. I will go Houston. I will go Porzingis again here's my workaround because it's Porzingis at the 4 is what I'll do with Tyson Chandler at the 5 and Latrell Sprewell at the 3.
Ooh, Trell.
So I have Clyde, Houston, Spree, King, and Chandler.
There you go.
So, look, do I like the fit with King and Chandler? Not particularly. No, and I could be convinced to swap someone out, specifically King in this case.
If I could swap LJ for Spree right now, I would, and that team is electric. Spree was a good call.
Only other point guard I even considered was, I guess, respect to Mark Jackson. I gotta throw him out there, but the only other point guard I considered was 2 weeks of Jeremy Lin.
Yeah, I was about to say Linsanity Lin was a beast.
Yeah.
I almost picked Quentin Grimes, but I decided not the best option.
I was considering Chris Duhon under D'Antoni too.
Oh yeah, Tony Douglas was a close call.
Duhon had averaged a lot of assists that year.
Did well? Hey, Raymond Felton had a double. I mean,
Raymond Felton. Could be.
I did write down Emmanuel Quickley's name. I couldn't justify it, but I did write his name down. I think the spirit of your question is like, this is arguably the best collection of talent they've ever assembled. So
nobody that we named has, other than Porzingis, has made nearly the amount of money that Emmanuel Quickley has made. So there you go.
You're right. Yes. Benjy, you're up. Question number 2.
All right. I will ask this question, which kind of overlaps with the question I asked 2 years ago, but oh well. It's slightly different. The question is, if you had the ability as the commissioner to make one single rule change implemented starting day 1 next season, it's a gameplay rule change. So we're not talking playoff structure. And we're also not talking about how refs adjudicate the rules. So it's not like call more fouls, call less fouls. It would have to be a change in terms of what is the definition of a foul. So literally in the rule book, you can change one thing. What is it?
Just to clarify, how is this different from the question you asked last year?
That was if I could take a rule from a different sport and implement it.
Oh, from a different sport. Right. Okay. So my rule change is that if at any point someone hits a shot from half court. No, I'm kidding.
No, this is real. This is like you're watching a basketball game. What do you wish was different?
Yeah. Jeremy, do you have anything off the top of your head?
Yeah. So a 4-point. No. There's a part of me that's trolling when I say this, but a part of me that also thinks it'd be an incredible experience. Trampolines. Trampolines. It is. You know what's better than high flying dunks? High flying dunks when you just bounced off a trampoline. Like the ultimate poster.
It's called slam ball.
A trampoline. Yeah, exactly. That's fine. But you know what? You've got shooting, because slam ball, it's really much more geared towards slamming it down. You know how you eliminate 3 in the key? Like, you got to jump out of it on a trampoline and go to the opposite direction.
So just the paint. Just the paint is a trampoline?
Just the paint. Just the paint. That's it. You know, the other really cool thing? Imagine for a moment that a player goes to the free throw line. You got to box out the shooter. Well, guess what? The shooter just jumped on the trampoline and is going up for the dunk. How cool is that? That's sick.
It's not like we already have too many injuries. Let's have mid-air 10 feet high collisions and see how that goes.
I think it'd be fine. I think it'd be totally fine. Like the amount of air that these players are, the hang time alone, it'd be awesome. The rebounds, the putbacks, forget it.
And then one time Zion's going to go plant and go through the trampoline by accident.
You know, there's enough padding underneath there, liability, insurance. They're going to have to figure something out with the ankles, though, because you could break your ankle on a trampoline. There's also something that's almost like, what can you do about the first player who has a career-ending injury from a trampoline accident? Shout out Java Chamberlain. Like, it happens. It happens to the best of us. But I just think you'd get more enjoyment. You know, you talk about the beautiful game, like, go on a trampoline. It's more beautiful than a trampoline.
How tall does Wemby get on a trampoline rim protection?
Wemby scores 100 points in a game. And that, if you're upset at someone scoring 100 points, then maybe find the Wilt footage or stop talking about it. So,
wow, not what I expected. Andrew?
I see your trampoline idea, and I raise you fire. all around the baseline. So that way we have got off the rails. You want to eliminate out of bounds, Benjy. No one's going near the fire. You want to eliminate corner threes. It's going to get really hot if you're trying to take a corner three. And the lines are molten lava hot, okay?
You inbound ball. No, you inbound the
No,
ball.
you
I'm not
inbound the
going near the fire.
Oh, man, that was great.
Fire tolerance becomes a sought after skill.
A skill. Max contract if you could tolerate first-degree burns, or in this case, third-degree burns. To somewhat answer your question seriously, I would eliminate 3-point foul shots. Like there's no such thing as getting a credit for 3 foul shots on a 3. Like you get 2 no matter what. Every trip to the line is 2 because you'll have guys baiting it less.
Love it.
Yeah. Benjy, do you have one?
Oh, I have a lot, but I've already gone on my live to get rid of live timeouts rant. I mean, that's like the most obvious thing. I'm tempted on going on it again, but the fact that we have live ball timeouts in the NBA is a disaster. It's a travesty. It's an embarrassment to our nation. It's an embarrassment to our globe. Like the aliens who also invented basketball somewhere far away definitely don't have live ball timeouts. I guarantee it. It's the dumbest rule in the history of sports. So that's number one. And I said it can't be about adjudicating, but I'm just going to use this opportunity to shout out FIBA refereeing, because the fact that they just watch guys flop and stare at them and laugh at them, it's like the easiest fix in the entire universe. It's not that hard to get rid of flopping. You just have to look at them and laugh at them. And they do it in FIBA. And the game is more physical and it's more interesting because it's more physical. And it's amazing to me that the NBA consistently rewards that kind of nonsense for guys like Embiid and etc., including our boy Jalen Brunson. Everyone's the same. Jalen Brunson does it also, but it's like, get rid of that nonsense and the game will be better for it. Those are my 2.
I kind of co-sign. My next question, my random summer inquisition. So let's talk about GOATs, the greatest of all time. Okay. I'm going to ask you both for your greatest of all time starting 5, and it could be 2 different versions. And what I'm going for is peak seasons. So I'm not just saying like who's your top 5 greatest NBA players. I want the best seasons that you've ever seen from an individual player and make a starting 5 out of it. For example, let's say Jalen Brunson last year was your point guard. So he'd be your point guard. You'd then pick a shooting guard, the best shooting guard season you've ever seen, and so on and so forth. And the 2 different versions you could do are just, you're not trying to make the team make sense, just the best at each position for one version. And then the second version can be a team that makes sense, that they would have to play together. The peak version of MJ with the peak version of Kobe might not make sense. I don't even necessarily know if you could put them together because they played the same position, but the peak version of Shaq might not make sense next to the peak version of Duncan. So I throw that at you guys. Which, Benjy, do you want to go first? Jeremy, do you want to go first?
I don't.
Okay, I'll go first. And this is not to say I'm going to do, I'm not going to break my brain. I'm just going to do the team to me that makes sense because that's more fun for me. So I'm going to take, and the years might be like a circa situation. I didn't actually like go and look at each year, but give me like 2016 Steph Curry at the point.
Yep.
Give me 1993 Michael Jordan at the 2.
Ooh, okay.
Give me 1986 Larry Bird at the 3. This is where it's an interesting conversation. Give me power forward. All right, I'm just going to say, give me 2005 Tim Duncan. And give me this is going to be interesting, but I'm going to say give me like 1994 Hakeem Olajuwon.
Oh, you went Hakeem. Okay.
And the reason I did that is because the other centers that are obviously incredible and like you can't go wrong here. Hakeem in the modern game is probably shooting a bit more. He's had the touch to do it and kind of really spread the floor more. He's a little more agile. So like with pairing Duncan with like another like kind of more traditional big seemed like a little crowded for me. Maybe Hakeem helps alleviate that a little bit with his quickness, unique quickness. He can guard anyone, 4s, 3s, 5, whatever you want. So that's why I went that direction. And yeah, that's my squad.
Jeremy?
So you took two players that I first had come to mind. Steph Curry. I'm going to go... I'll go 2015 instead of 2016, although that 2016 was incredible, and so was Steph. And the other was Tim Duncan, although I was thinking more like 2003 Tim Duncan, although there's probably a better iteration. Where I will push back is, you mentioned Olajuwon, and I get it in terms of fit in the modern era, but
You go with
1999, 2000 Shaq.
Yeah.
Like, that player was so unstoppable that no matter what era you put them in, the game changes around them. Similar to how with Steph, or like they're just, it's a generational player.
Then go like 67 Wilt, who averaged like 50, 26, and 13 blocks probably, if they tracked it.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'll fit those three, and then I mean, yeah, it's I mean, yes, there's somebody said if I wanted to change it up a bit, do you go with 93 Barkley? Do you get some energy in there? But that's, I wouldn't love.
I don't think it's crazy to say something like 21 Giannis, 20 Giannis at the power forward is not. I mean, he's up there, man.
But if I've got Duncan and Shaq together, I probably.
No, I thought you were saying instead of at the fours, that if you were replacing Duncan with Barkley.
100%. Yep, agreed. I'd say, yeah, I mean, the Larry Bird selection is great. Like, that is the smooth shooting elite player. Totally get it. I like that a lot. But I'm for the sake of this going to go with LeBron. I'll pick LeBron.
I kind of forgot about him.
I was about to say, is someone going to say LeBron James at any point?
I will. I'm going to say LeBron.
The guy who's still dominating at 40.
Yeah. Oldest player in the NBA and the best player in the world, apparently.
Help me out, Andrew. Would you say LeBron 2011? Is that fair?
2013 would be the year. Okay. 2013.
I think you can make the argument. It's kind of similar to the Jordan argument in some ways. But like, 09 LeBron as just an athletic specimen, there's never been anything like it. I don't even think, and he got better as a player with the Heat, but just in terms of like the athletic force that he was in like 2009 was outrageous.
So yeah. I don't know if you'll agree with this, Benjy. I wrote down 5 different LeBron seasons you could go with. 09 is one of them. 2013 was his best Heat season. It's the year he shot like 67% from the field or whatever it was, 57% from the field. Yeah. 2018 with the Cavs was the year he played 82 games and was his best jump shooting year. The year he finished second to Giannis in MVP and won the title with the Lakers. He led the league in assists, so he was more of a point guard. And honestly, this most recent season,
there's no argument for that.
I'm just saying,
even if the numbers are what they are,
it's his best 3-point shooting season. So if you wanted to have an older version of LeBron that could still play 70 games, could spread the floor a little bit, that's the evolution. Like Jordan, if you go into the late 90s, what made him officially unstoppable was as his athleticism was staying consistent. Now he's an elite jump shooter, you know? So that's the argument I'm making for LeBron. Now that he's gotten older, he's not as quick and he's not the defensive specimen that he is, but he can now shoot the ball.
All right. Fair enough.
Yeah, that's all. But if you're going with a Heat season, 2013 is the year, Jeremy.
All right. 2013 LeBron.
That's great. Okay. By the way, I would just say, despite not picking him, that, and I don't really remember Jordan. I was born in 92, so I remember Wizards Jordan. Shaq in 99, 2000 remains to this day, and I include every LeBron James season that I've watched, remains the most dominant player that I've watched. there was nothing you could do. There was no coverage. It was a joke what he was doing to teams. So yeah, I have no qualms with that pick. He was a monster.
Shaq was the first name I wrote down. The 2000 Shaq. It's the most unstoppable thing I've ever seen.
Yep, there you go.
You know, so
I played 2K1 on the PS1. Always went with the Lakers, and just so easy.
Yeah. So there's only one player I wrote on both versions of my team. You haven't said a shooting guard yet. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Quentin Grimes. Anyways, your turn. I'll go with 95-96 MJ.
Okay, the 72 win team. I like that.
Solid player.
So there's one player in their peak year that I wrote on both versions, and it's 2016 Steph.
No one's picked Magic. Wow.
So I tried to fit in a Magic season, and it would probably be 87 or 88, whichever was his first MVP. 87 was his first MVP season. That would probably be the Magic year I go with. You mentioned 2000 is the most unstoppable thing I've ever seen physically from Shaq. The most unstoppable thing mathematically that I've ever seen is Steph Curry in 2016.
Imagine if we had a 4-pointer. You want to make Steph even greater? Make a 4-pointer.
My gosh, they would have created a 4-pointer just to be like, all right, we have to move his limits back to see if like he could just shoot from there. He'd probably still shoot 40% from 4. You know, so Steph is what I put on both. On my peak version, I have 88 Jordan. 20. I'm impartial to 2013 LeBron. That especially during that winning streak, he was his best defensively. He was probably his most efficient offensively. So that version of LeBron would be my 3. Duncan 02 is what I wrote down, but I'm also impartial to 04 Garnett, if that's allowed to be mentioned.
I like that.
Won DPOY and MVP that year on a team that I believe won 59 games, and then just the Lakers got hot when they needed to. And then 2000 Shaq. That's my peak version. The team that makes the most sense. Get ready for this. Steph Curry in 2016, Klay Thompson in 2017, Kevin Durant in 2017. Oh, 2014 Kevin Durant, I should say. 2018 LeBron, and then 2022 Nikola Jokic.
So that's like Gen Z starting five? Okay.
I think it wins any 5-on-5 matchup in NBA history.
It's quite good. Quite good.
Yes.
I'll take MJ and some good players against anyone. I'm feeling good.
MJ would probably win the mental game against all of them. He would convince them the night before that he would,
that's right,
kill them on the basketball court. I'm just going from the math perspective. The 2017 Warriors are the most unstoppable thing I've ever seen. And I have 3 of them, and I added LeBron James and Jokic to them. So
can I make a change?
Yes.
I'm going to swap Tim Duncan out.
Yes.
And in his place, I'm going to put the
Melo
2027-28 Victor Wembanyama.
Oh, so we're projecting in the future.
Yep,
I love it.
That's where it is.
That's pretty good.
He's going to be that good.
He's like the runaway front runner for defensive player of the year right now.
Yeah,
he should be.
Right.
I feel as though
he was the runaway winner if it was judged on the last 30 games of the last season.
Yeah.
Yes. But this is a guy I'm not even saying he shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But if you look at all the other races, it's like, oh, plus 200 here, plus 500 there. Like there's a conversation. Mm-hmm. He's minus 900 before the season to win defensive player of the year right now. Yeah. Like, you might as well just give him the award. Don't have a season. Just like, all right, we're going to give Wemby the DPOY just to get this out the way and then vote on the other stuff. Jeremy, your last question.
All right, my last question. I feel like I wrote the wrong question down here, so I'm going to go back and look at what we got.
It's a question we've been waiting for.
Yeah, well, I wrote it down differently and I changed it when I texted it. So,
okay.
Assign one current Knick to each day of the week. So think of a day of the week.
Yes.
And how those players embody it. And I think the best thing for us to do here is to go through each day of the week.
Yes.
And we take turns naming which player fully encapsulates that day.
Yes. Can I just say before you start, when you pose this question, you texted that this may be one of your questions. I thought it would be an impossible task. And then I got to it came incredibly naturally. Like this question this is a beautiful question. I just want to let you know.
I don't think it's that difficult. In fact, and we don't know these people as humans. We just know them based on what they show us. But this is all operating based on we're fans. So everyone listening to this pod, or at least the 98.7% of people who are listening to this, probably have the same amount of exposure to these players as we do.
Let's do it, man.
So let's start with Monday.
My first?
Yes. Let's go Andrew, Benjy, and then I'll go.
Do coaches count?
I was thinking just players because I think if we're doing coaches, then we know who's going to be Monday.
Well, yeah, I would put Tibbs Monday.
It's going to be Dice. Tibbs.
I will go Jalen Brunson Monday. Start the week off with my best.
Why?
Start the week off with your best foot forward. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, to me, it's Julius Randle. Both micro and macro. First, Julius Randle's a get to work kind of guy, man. He's a bruiser. He's physical. He shows up. His body's ready to go. Like there's a workman-like element to him. But also on the macro level, this season is a get up and go to work year for Julius Randle to prove himself an essential part of a team that has championship aspirations in a serious way. It's a Monday year for Julius Randle. He's got a lot to prove, a lot to show. He's shown a lot already. I don't want to underestimate the accomplishments he's had on this team and how much he's meant to the franchise turnaround. One day we'll look back on this era and remember that it wasn't Jalen Brunson who actually started it. It was actually Julius Randle. But it's a Monday year for Julius Randle.
I'm with Andrew. I see Monday as a Brunson. You have to overcome the odds. Julius is so gifted and talented, but he was also given the size and stature to handle any day taking him. You know how hard you have to work to get up and go on a Monday? That takes so much effort and so much training. And that's exactly what Jalen Brunson is. He powers through. It's the hardest day because it was after a weekend, and you just need to put your best foot forward. And it's not going to be pretty. Not every Monday is going to be great, but you got to get through it and start your week. Are we snaking this, or are we going in the same order?
Let's go in the same order because I have an answer for Tuesday, and it's Dante DiVincenzo. Because I have a theory that I developed with some of my quad mates in college, and I will introduce it here on the pod. Monday isn't the hardest day of the week. Tuesday is. It's almost like when you haven't been at the gym in a long time. That first day is usually difficult, but you go there, you get to your first workout, and you're good. It's that second day that's always the hardest because now you're trying to get into a routine. And after enjoying the weekend, everybody goes to work on Monday. You're on the same spot. Now Tuesday, you're looking to get ahead of it. And what better way to get ahead of it than with a 3-pointer, or as we've talked about throughout the pod, a 4-pointer. So my best shooter needs to help me get ahead of it, and whether it be as a starter or if I need a little more a little less energy because I've got ahead of it already. So there you go.
I too have Dante DiVincenzo as my Tuesday. My reasoning is Tuesday. Actually, I don't think I think Monday is unquestionably the hardest day of work, but I will say Tuesday is often the most chaotic day of work. Tuesday is like everyone kind of eases their way in Monday. Monday mornings usually can be kind of slow. By Tuesday, everyone's in full gear because they don't want to be working by Friday. So there's a certain chaos. There's a certain like recklessness to Tuesday. The day gets away. You end up staying late at work. Like Dante is a little bit reckless. He's got a ton of energy. He's all over the place. He's covering all sorts of ground on both ends of the floor. He's running miles out there, and you need you need a little bit of long-term planning. You know, you still got the whole week ahead of you. So yeah, you need the long-range shooting. That's Dante DiVincenzo.
Jeremy.
I think that OG Anunoby is the human embodiment of a Tuesday.
Oh,
Of
tell
a
us, tell us, tell us.
Tuesday.
Let's
Let's
hear it.
hear it.
So I'm with you. I agree that Tuesday's a really difficult day. In fact, with my work schedule, somehow all of my meetings wind up on Tuesdays and Monday is playing. It's like figuring out exactly what it is. But Tuesday, it is defense the entire day. It is put your nose down, grind it out, get the day done. You're fighting things off left and right. You need to be your best self, but you can't be vocal about it because you're just so busy swatting things away. You're silent, you're quiet. Like you're this assassin who has to get stuff done. And that to me is OG Anunoby. And sometimes Tuesdays can be a little silly because Tuesdays can sometimes be Mondays when you have a long weekend.
Oh,
And you have a 4-day week now. And, OG can sometimes be a silly little guy. So we've seen the scarf collection. So I think that he is
a silly little guy.
He's a silly little guy. I mean, he's a big man, but he's also a silly little guy. We all,
silly little guy.
You guys are tall gentlemen. You guys can be silly little guys sometimes too. You get what I'm saying.
The first time in OG's life he's been called a silly little guy.
He's a silly little guy. Well, what can you say? But so I think with OG, he's
This is great.
OG is important to defending that core portion of your work week that gets looked over. Because you know what? Monday happens. Oh, it's past the point of attack. But now Tuesday, it's infiltrated. You got to work on the perimeter. Who's going to defend it? OG Anunoby. Bam. Nothing to worry about. You need to take a couple shots to get through the day. OG's right there. Not necessarily drinking, although if that's you, then you do you. But like sometimes you gotta get the easy layups. You gotta get the corner threes that really help you with those bad work weeks.
This is the longest
Anunoby.
metaphor I've ever heard.
This is
who else
amazing.
really long to help you defend? OG Anunoby, because he's a Tuesday. So I call him Mr. Tuesday. That's the way it works.
I love it.
So
Mr.
OG Anunoby
Tuesday.
is a Tuesday 1,000%.
That's beautiful.
Mr. T. Jeremy, that was amazing. This is shaping up to be quite the Jeremy pod, and I'm enjoying all of it. Julius Randle is my Wednesday, and it's because going into the week, you have no idea how the week is going to turn out. By Wednesday, you kind of have an idea of whether this is going to be a bad week. This is not the week for me, or like this is a good week. Okay, so the way this week is going, I think I have a good idea about how this week will end. If that is not the Julius Randle experience, I don't know what is. So Julius Randle is my Wednesday.
That's great. That's a good shtick. My Wednesday is Jericho Sims, because Jericho Sims' facial expression is everyone's facial expression on Wednesday.
My Wednesday. Okay.
That guy looks like it's always Wednesday. That guy hasn't lived in any other day except for Wednesday.
I could see that.
Shout out Jericho Sims.
Shout out.
Potential
I'd
rotation
say
player.
My backup center.
Yeah. Hashtag my backup center.
I like the idea of Julius Randle being your Wednesday, just based on. There are times where, yes, the week you just never know what's going to happen. This is not the Josh Hart day, but I could also see Josh Hart just walking around the office going like hump day to every single person. They're like, I hate that guy so much. Oh my God. But I think it is Julius, just based on the uncertainty. But you're halfway through it. Like that's you're living the experience of the work week, and there are the ups and the downs, and through it all, you don't really know what the rest is going to happen. But that's in a lot of ways Julius Randle experience. So I think it's a great call, Andrew.
Thank you. So we're at the Thursday. This is the Josh Hart day.
Yes.
Because the stamina you need to get through a work week by Thursday, you know you need that extra push. Maybe you need to play all 48 minutes, maybe a little bit of overtime. Josh Hart, if we know nothing about him, it's what we do know is that he has the spirit of the Energizer Bunny, and by Thursday, you probably need a little bit of Josh Hart in you, so that way you can get through the rest of your week. Also, you would talk about him walking around making hump day jokes. Guess who's going to start planning his weekend on Thursday? It would be one Josh Hart, already telling you about how much fun you're going to have this weekend. So that's Josh Hart is my Thursday.
Josh Hart is Thursday. The embodiment of running on fumes. But getting through it with a crazy mixture of stamina, will, and a good dose of humor that you need to get through a Thursday. That's Josh Hart.
And I just add chaos, because sometimes Thursday
Always
can
chaos.
either lead to a very easy Friday or a very wild Friday. So,
Jeremy, can we make it 3 for 3? Or you got someone else in mind?
I'm tempted to just say it's not Josh Hart for the discussion as well. I think I'm going to go with, but it's tricky. You know what? I'll go 3 for 3.
There we go.
I'll do it because I've got something else in mind for later. Josh Hart, yes, there's the vibe of like, the weekend planning, but also think about the Thirsty Thursdays where Josh Hart's there. And it's like, it's only one more day. We can get a little drunk. It's okay. It doesn't matter. And you just got to wake up one more day and then deal with it. Then you can sleep in. So yeah, I'll agree. Josh Hart, the ultimate Thursday warrior. He's the guy who will want to go to the next bar afterwards because why not? He's really social. He's actually integral to the party planning committee and the social groups because he's just such an affable guy. So yeah, I'll give it. Josh Hart is the ultimate Thursday.
Let's go.
I like it. So my Friday, I'll just throw out there, is Mikal Bridges, because look, there are certain weeks that you never thought you'd see the day, that you never thought you'd be able to get to Friday. And I never thought the Knicks would end up with Mikal Bridges in any way, shape, or form. But lo and behold, Mikal Bridges, we made it to you in my life. And I think a lot of people that get through their work week, they just get to Friday and they're like, oh my gosh, I made it through to the other side. I made it. I cannot wait for how much fun I'm going to have on this Friday. And I cannot wait for how good these Knicks are going to be with Mikal Bridges. So that's my Friday.
Here's where I got OG slotted in. And for all of Jeremy's extended metaphors about a Tuesday, I think you need perimeter defense most out of any day on a Friday, because you cannot let any of that work get into the lane for your weekend. It's got to stay outside. You got to stop it right there. There is no room for error. You need to stand them up at the perimeter and keep all the work out. And the person that does that for me is OG Anunoby. And I will add, on a macro level, Friday's the turning point. Friday's like, even we walk in Friday morning to the office, there's a different vibe. It's the turning point of the week. It's Friday, especially in the summer. And OG Anunoby in some ways might be a turning point here. He may be. He is a turning point. That trade and the way the team performed starting when he came over may have been a turning point to something truly wonderful. So OG Anunoby is my Friday.
Yeah. My Friday is Cameron Payne, because I don't plan to work and I'm prepared to give people a fake name if I have to that night. That's just how I'm working, or not. Like I'm there to get paid, cash and checks and snapping necks, and that's it.
Good
and then
vibes.
I get to, no one wants to be that guy that's like the Lumberg of, I'm going to need you to come in on Saturday. No, we don't want that. We just want like the dude who's like, I'm chilling. I did my work before. I got it done. I'm here for the paycheck. I'm friends with the boss. It's cool. We're cool.
He's got handshakes with every employee.
Right. That. Yeah. Everyone needs that office boost of a guy, because Josh Hart, too high energy. You need the chill guy that's like, hey, how you doing? I'm good. How you doing? It's like, I feel great talking to that person. There's so much great energy here from them. So Cameron Payne is my Friday.
Love it. Didn't see him coming.
Clarifying question: is the weekend one player, or is it a different player for Saturday and Sunday?
7 days of the week.
Let's go. Dig in.
Mitchell Robinson is my Saturday because I'm chilling. If there's anybody that I want to chill with on a Saturday, it's Mitchell Robinson.
in a pickup truck and
probably
cowboy hat?
listening to country music.
Okay.
Shout out to Louisiana, where he is currently. If if there's anybody that embodies the relaxation that is felt on a Saturday, it's Mitch Robinson, and specifically Mitch Robinson on Snapchat. So I'll go Mitch.
Saturday is where I slot Jalen Brunson because Saturday is my day of worship.
There you go. I see what you did there. The Almighty. I love it. Okay. The Father, Son, and Jalen Brunson. There you go.
We have all of them, and the Godfather too.
There you go, and the Godfather. All the above.
I will also pick Mitchell Robinson because he's got a lot of leisurely activities, but he gets to be a little silly, a little goofy. Like nothing embodies, to your point, Andrew, you mentioned the Snapchat. One of the funniest things that I've seen from a basketball player in a long time is when Mitchell Robinson took a photo of a goose and then just wrote, Goose. That is such Saturday energy that I need in my life.
That's great.
I want to just be able to look at a goose and say, Goose, and then go about the rest of my day. And if I want to do something at night, I just call up Cameron Payne from the Friday night. Like, it's totally fine. But I think because Mitch, I feel like you could watch a really funny movie. You could go out, probably call it an early night, which is fine. You know, you're getting up there in age. Got certain points where it's nice just chill on the casa. Like, Mitch has to be the Saturday guy.
I obviously co-sign. My Sunday is Deuce McBride because he used to play football.
Oh.
Yeah. Shout out to my quarterback.
I like that. My Sunday is Mikal Bridges because to me, Sunday it's easy like Sunday morning. It's languid. It's fluid. It's easy, man. Like Mikal, like the movements, the way he gets up and down the floor, the way he shoots, the length, it's all just languid and easy and smooth. And that's how I want my Sunday mornings. So that's Mikal Bridges.
Benjy, we're so in agreement here. It's Mikal. It has to be. Like, yes, the fluidity, there's the smoothness. There's a thought I had where I could imagine I can imagine Dante DiVincenzo being in Bushwick or Park Slope or Carroll Gardens, holding a coffee, walking the dog, and doing that sort of thing. But that's not my vibe right now. I love the Mikal Bridges portion of it because it's just like you ease into it. And you know what? The other thing is you got to protect yourself because you know what's coming around the corner. That's right, folks. It's a Monday. Monday is right there. You got to defend yourself from the Sunday scaries. And who better to do that than Mikal Bridges?
I love it. So which rotation player did each of us leave out? Mine was OG.
Mitch,
and you left out Deuce, Jeremy.
Dude.
Okay.
Well, he left out two because you picked Cameron Payne. So Jeremy left out two people.
Oh, yeah.
I did. And DiVincenzo.
And DiVincenzo. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, we're a bit pressed for time, so we're going to actually wrap up here. My last question was going to be for you guys to decide a presidential ticket based off of the New York athletes that exist.
Oh, God. No, Jeremy has to answer that one at least while we're on.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
What is it?
They're current
players. Current
correct?
Players, yes.
Okay. Well, and this is for all New York sports teams.
All New York sports teams. As it has to have a chance of winning, too.
Yeah. Well, so I can tell you right now, the vice president's Josh Hart.
Okay.
Like, you talk about someone who walks around, doesn't have to be the person, like totally cool with it, affable. I could see Josh Hart being like, we exist in the context and just laughing and butchering imagine Josh Hart at the White House butchering everyone's name on purpose. Like,
I could.
That's just what he would do. Like, he'd go up to Macron and be like, Macron, what's up? That's just who he is. In terms of the presidential candidate, I feel like it's hard for me not to pick Aaron Judge because he rules with such a steady hand. He's always cool, calm, and collected with these things. They balance each other out really nicely.
Doesn't swing, it strikes, just lets him go in the ninth inning to Jake Diekman. Kill me now.
That remains the craziest outcome of an at-bat I've ever seen, Benjy.
Well, I could also pick Breonna Stewart. Is that easier?
I would have picked Judge until that at-bat, and now he's out.
All right. So with that, Yeah, well, he was physically out, unfortunately. But so I'll pick Breonna Stewart. She won MVP, popular, proven winner. I'll go with her.
I also wrote down a Stuart Brunson ticket. Just go full New York basketball. I wrote down a Brunson Judge ticket. Just the two peak athletes at New York right now. And I'll wrap up this pod with how I feel about the state of things in this country. That the most likely winning ticket is an Aaron Rodgers, Brandon Nimmo ticket.
That's
so.
Can we stick Mitchell? Can we stick Mitchell Robinson on there or no? Is that too soon?
We can, but I know how it's a big country. I know what they want to vote for, what I think they're going to vote for. So that's what I have to say on that. And I believe that is. Do you have one, Benji? Do you want to throw one out real quick? Is Aaron Judge no longer your president anymore?
No, he's been impeached. He's been impeached. I charged him with a felony.
He's like their only good baseball player outside of Juan Soto.
I'll make Soto president right now.
Soto, yes.
I don't think that by the rules of the Constitution,
yeah, unfortunately.
I mean, obviously, all these players were listed.
Damn it, that's 35, a great point. That's a great point. Didn't have my social studies hat on here. Yeah,
it's the ironic thing here. The ironic thing here, just really quickly, is that of all the people we have named, the only person eligible is Aaron Rodgers.
35.
Because he's over 35.
Oh my God.
That's why I went with a VP. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I went with a VP Nimmo. Doesn't matter how old he is.
Well, it does.
Oh, he does? He also has to be 35?
You know what? How about this? Give me a Tibbs. Actually, I don't know how that would go. I take that back. I don't want to see the smile on Macri's face if that ever happened.
The Department of Labor, and he just Tibbs just decides there are no longer 40-hour work weeks. It's 80-hour work weeks.
There are no Sundays. Yeah, that's it.
Yes, we're eliminating Saturday and Sunday from the schedule.
Goodbye, Mikal Bridges Sundays.
Yes, exactly.
I think Tibbs would make all work remote to cut down on traveling.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh man, yeah.
You all have to go into work at 5 a.m. and live there.
I definitely take that one back, very far back.
This has been the second ever Random Inquiries Summit, or whatever we called it. Random Summer Inquisitions.
Inquisition.
Yes. Random Summer Inquisitions Part 2. My thanks to Jeremy and Benji for joining me as always and for their friendship as always. Thank you to everybody for tuning in to another edition of the Knicks Film School podcast. If you dig the show, please head over to iTunes, drop a 5-star rating and a review. If you're watching and you got all the way this far and you're not subscribed, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video. It really helps us get the word out. Jeremy, any last words?
Reddick, is he coming back, Andrew?
Hassan Reddick? Mm-hmm. I am so not here for football yet.
You're not.
Oh, so
okay. So we're here for baseball, but not for football. Understood.
Baseball is currently here, so
football's currently here. Football never goes away.
Training camp is here. Listen. I hope so. Is my answer, Jeremy. I very much hope so, because that would be very Jets if they signed a guy with a handshake deal and then he wanted an actual deal and he never shows up. Okay. Or my quarterback becomes the vice president. Benji, any last words?
No.
Okay.
All right.
4-point lines and trampolines and fire, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. We'll be back with another episode before you know it. Peace out.